Good evening, I'm Cracked Rack, and today I have a special guest for my brand new interview series where I'm going to be interviewing strange or eccentric or cool or just generally, interesting individuals. And today I have Jack Smith, with me. Go ahead and say hello, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jack. I was a military policeman in the Air Force. I worked with nuclear weapons specifically. That was my specialization.
Interesting.
Yes. It was
and
quite an interesting career.
When were you deployed? Or not deployed? When were you doing this?
I was doing this in the mid-2010s.
Mid-2010. So like 2011 to like 2015?
Yes, that's about right.
Okay. And could you say your position again?
I was a military policeman. I started off as an airman, airman basic, airman first class, etc.
Okay. And could you describe what a military policeman is?
Well, it's kind of a general position. They're called security forces in the Air Force, but a military policeman's what it is, if you know what I mean. It's kind of the term everybody understands. So technically it was security forces. They do pretty much everything you can imagine on a base. When you go to the front gate of a military base, they're the ones that check your IDs. They do patrols, in vehicles and on foot to check for, say, criminals. A lot of theft on base, more than you'd probably expect.
Yeah, because I'd imagine there's probably like a lot of valuable military-grade stuff there, right? That people want.
Well, it's not that really. It's just petty criminals. You know what I mean? People jump the fences and they want to steal stuff. Steal people's cars and whatnot.
Oh, that's petty.
You'd be surprised. And you'd be surprised how audacious they could be. I mean, there was an incident before I was in there where a group of teenagers jumped a fence and were breaking into somebody's house, and someone called the police, the military police, and a military policeman showed up. And they assaulted him, and they shot him in the torso with his own handgun.
Wow. And did you witness this, or was this just in your area?
No. This was before I was in. This was like a few years prior. But
so they don't.
My point is,
they don't fuck around.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. You'd think the military base would be the last place they'd want to commit crimes, but no, they were audacious.
So that's almost equivalent to like breaking into Area 51, isn't it? Like you don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, we're not Area 51, although I have been there actually, just for the fun of it.
I don't know if I asked. I might have. Where was this again? Where exactly?
West Coast, I'll say.
Okay, so like North Dakota, Oregon-ish area.
No, closer to Texas.
Okay.
By like Texas, California kind of area.
Okay. Yeah, so like around like Nevada-ish type.
Yeah, I've been to Nevada, I've been to New Mexico, I've been to Texas,
okay.
that kind of area. I kind of hopped around a bit, as you do.
Okay, yeah, cool. So I guess the next thing, I'll just jump right into this. Do you feel ashamed or very proud of your position?
Neither. At the time, I felt proud. In hindsight, it's just a job. I didn't do anything, particularly... I don't know. I never saved anybody's lives. I never did anything, that really amounted to anything. It was just basically security guard kind of work, mall cop kind of stuff is what I did.
I was a security guard in Portland a long time ago. So basically you're just kind of like watching for like transients, basically.
Yeah, you write tickets for speeding for, people without a license. You check IDs to make sure people are where they're supposed to be, when they're trying to get on base. Just to clarify, I was not anything fancy. I was never, special forces or anything like that.
I see.
The only time I fired a gun was on the firing range.
I
don't want to.
It's still very dangerous to even be, low level in there. You could still get killed. I mean, it's dangerous.
That's true.
It's dangerous to even be a security guard. I mean, any position where you're, protecting something from people is like the most dangerous thing you can even do.
Yeah, but I don't want to insinuate that I was, something more than I was. I wasn't anything special.
Oh no, that makes me take you more seriously, because if the people who like try to act like they're military heroes, You know, that's got to be
Yeah.
embarrassing. You've probably
Yeah, I
experienced
know.
people who think they're heroes just for, you know, being in the military.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I wasn't anything like that. I didn't do anything interesting really, but I did see and experience a lot of interesting things, which is
Yeah,
why I
you were
thought
mentioning
you
this
might.
this incident that's on Wikipedia. What was that?
Yes, yes, okay. It's on Wikipedia. It's called the 2007 United States Air Force Nuclear Weapons Incident. Although we always just called it the Minot Incident. And obviously, this is just a few years before I joined, but it was a big deal, and we were constantly hearing about it. And what happened is an airplane was flying from Minot, North Dakota, to Louisiana, the Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. And when it landed, they found 6 nuclear warheads on it.
And don't those
And the
like
thing was,
can't those go off if you like touch them even?
no, they're not very sensitive.
Oh, okay.
They have to be armed, and then you have to fire them.
What if someone like
they're not
what if someone
fragile.
like shot them with a gun, like a pistol?
It would break, but it wouldn't explode or anything like that.
Okay, so you have to like arm them and like go through a bunch of security. Okay.
Yeah, but we probably shouldn't talk about nuclear weapons. I don't know, how legal that kind of stuff is to talk about.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that smoke. I just got visited by I just got visited by the FBI a couple days ago, so
yeah, I don't know how legal that is to
okay.
talk about that kind of
Well,
stuff. I mean, everything that you said there is public knowledge. That's Wikipedia stuff, but we should probably be careful about that because they do take that seriously.
So this is kind of a silly question. You don't have to answer it, but did you have like a lot of sex or like a lot of opportunities to have a lot of sex due to like the allure of your position?
I don't know. People around me did, but I was never really a womanizer or anything like that. I wasn't a Lothario.
You're not you're not a giant cocksucker, basically, is what you're saying.
No, I didn't sleep around with people, but people around me did.
Okay, because I've heard a lot of military men, being very like sexually,
promiscuous.
Yeah, promiscuous, and a strong hunger for that. And I've heard some bad things, like a lot of rape and stuff happens. I've heard.
Oh yeah, that's true. When I was in basic training, there was a big sexual assault scandal, kind of a Catholic Church thing, if you will. I mean, I guess that's not true. We were adults, but where the guys in charge were taking advantage of the women and occasionally the men, and that was a big deal, as we were always told. If you ever have anything like that, we had anonymous boxes where you could slip a paper in if you experienced something like that.
I see. Have you ever had to do that yourself?
No, nothing like that.
Okay. What horrors have you witnessed personally?
I saw a man shoot himself in the hand by accident.
Ooh.
He had an M240 Bravo, which is a belt-fed machine gun. You pop the top open, you slip the belt in, you close the top, and then you fire it. And the gun jammed. And when the gun jams, what you're supposed to do is put some sandbags on it and let it cool off on its own. Because if you pop the top open, the cooled air can cause it to pop, or I don't know, explode, I guess might be the right word. And so we had I kid you not, he was a firearms instructor who was showing us how to use the M240 Bravo. And he had told us this just prior. And then he was showing us how to use it, and it jammed, and he pulled the top open, and the bullet hit him in the hand.
So do you think he was being arrogant? Like he thought he was?
Yeah, he knew what he was doing was not the correct thing to do. He just kind of cut some corners, and yeah, he shot himself in the hand.
Wow.
As I mentioned, I was never deployed. I was never anything really crazy. So
I see. You mentioned this coworker, this very disturbing coworker.
Yes. I don't want to say his name because that would, tell people exactly where I was from. So let's call him Peter, just for convenience.
Peter Petto.
So I was good friends with Peter, actually. We worked together a lot, 5 days a week. And Peter, he slept around him. He liked to drink, he liked to party. Kind of a frat boy, if you will. But we were friends. He was a nice guy. And what happened is he got depressed and he attempted to commit suicide. He cut his wrists, and they put him in a mental institution. And the first sergeant, the first sergeant is kind of like your HR person. They interact with the people a lot more than the other sergeants would. So the first sergeant goes over to his wife to talk to him, to talk to her, just to see how she's doing. And he notices that she has some bruises on her. And he gets her talking, and it turns out that he had been beating her on the regular. And he had raped her at gunpoint. He had gotten drunk one day, and she didn't want to sleep with him. So he got drunk, and he put the pistol to her head and raped her. And when this came out, obviously, he was, indicted. They were separated. She divorced him and whatnot. He got put on trial. He was found guilty. I think they gave him, 20 years in prison. They have something in the military called double jeopardy, where if you commit a crime, you'll be charged by the civilian court and the military court, and the sentences stack. So,
if you dishonor the duty, they'll punish you for dishonoring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like if the military gives you 10 years for whatever crime you committed, and then the civilian the civilian court system, your Texas court or whatever, gives you 10 years, then you're going to get 20 years. You do 10 in the military prison and then 10 in the civilian prison. So that's what happened.
Wow.
To him, he is still in prison, as far as I know.
Does he hate his life?
What?
Does he hate his life?
I'm sure he does. Military prison's rough. I visited a military prison, and a guy tried to escape from. As I was there, he climbed the fence and started, scaling it. And a guard ran up and grabbed him by his shirt and just yanked him down and gave him a couple stomps.
So I'm guessing that they're probably on edge 24/7 then, that they're trying to mess around or escape.
Yeah, it's very unpleasant from what I've been told. Obviously, I've never been there.
So they put you there if you commit crimes on army property or military property?
If you're in the military and you commit a crime, you go to military prison, and you'll probably go to civilian prison too.
So it's not like civilian prison where it's just average. Like me, for example, if I commit a crime, I would just go to regular prison and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But military prison is like Guantanamo Bay, basically. It's not.
Yeah, pretty much. It's rough. It's a lot rougher than a normal prison would be.
So what are some examples of that?
I mean, I've never been there, so I can't really testify, but I've just been told that it's a lot harsher than a real prison. They do hard labor, for example, where you break rocks with a pickaxe, that kind of stuff. But that's just stuff I've been told by people who have more experience than I.
Okay. Well,
I never worked there.
Well, moving on. Have you ever seen someone die before? Just in general?
No.
No?
Nope. Sorry, can't help you there.
That's a good thing. I'm glad that you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
What is the scariest thing you've ever been through? And that doesn't even have to just apply to the military there.
I'm sorry, I don't think I can really think of anything that really qualifies as being that scary. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Have you ever been injured as a result of your position, ever?
I have hearing damage.
Hearing damage from, tinnitus from gunshots?
Yeah. I have tinnitus.
Are you supposed to, wear earmuffs and you didn't, or is it just, a natural consequence?
No, you'll get it either way. It's just, we wear your earplugs, but either way you're going to get it. That's just kind of comes with the territory.
Oh, did you have to do, a lot of firing training and a lot of, firing range type stuff?
I don't know what a lot would be. I did a good amount. Not as much as somebody in the Army would have done. I was just in the Air Force, but...
What kind of weapons did you shot?
I did some firing. I fired M4s, I fired AR-15s, which is basically the same thing. I fired, I had a Beretta 9mm that I carried when I was at work. I fired an M203 underbarrel grenade launcher. I fired M240 Bravo, like I mentioned. I fired an M249, which is similar. So I fired a decent amount of firearms.
Interesting.
You know, they taught us how to use hand grenades, although we used.
Have you seen one of those go off?
What? A hand grenade?
Yeah, a hand grenade.
No, not a real one. Just the fake ones. You know, they.
Are those really
practice.
Are those really as dangerous as they make it look?
I'd say so. I mean, I've never been hit by one, but it certainly seems like it's hurt.
I've heard like rumors that if like you huddle over a grenade, you can like just completely defuse it. It's probably a terrible rumor. I doubt it has any truth to it, but
I don't know. I was never an explosives guy, so I can't really testify to that.
Have you made any mistakes, or do you regret anything you've ever done in this position?
Yes, I should not have been a military policeman. That was a bad career move. I should have, and this is true for everybody. I'll tell anybody this. You should get a career in the military where you learn a trade, become an engineer, become an electrician. You know, do something with computers. You know, do something so that when you get out of the military, you have some sort of, you know, experience towards like a college degree. You know, a military policeman isn't actually very applicable to a real police force. You know, I'm not a policeman, but if I was, you know, the knowledge I have from the military stuff I've done wouldn't really apply to. But I've done some adjacent work. I don't want to say what I do, but if you're going to join the military, you need to join and do something that's going to be good for you when you get out. You know, don't be infantry. Don't do something that sounds cool. You know, do something that's going to help you in your professional.
Only people that like have experience in doing the cool stuff should do the cool stuff, is what you're saying. Like, don't just try to be cool.
Well, I mean, when you get out of the military, you know, if you're an infantryman, you know, you can put that on your resume all you want, but it's not really going to do you any good. If you're applying for some, if you're trying to get a trade, or you know, trying to go to college, stuff like that, you know, you should get a degree, or you should get a career that's going to help you in the real world, is what I'm saying.
My next question, I'm going to open a beer, so I'm going to be, you know, just go ahead and answer this one long if you want to, but did you have any enemies in your time there? Anyone you really hated?
Yeah, there were a lot of officers I hated. They were very unpleasant people.
Because
we had a general.
Were they dicks, or?
Yeah. I mean, you know, not evil, but you know, just jerks. We had a general. I'm not gonna say her name. Everybody who's known her is gonna know who I'm talking about. And when a general, or when any officer drives up to the front gate, you're supposed to salute them naturally, and you give them your post orders.
Right.
And if you don't, you get in trouble. You know, they'll call your boss and complain to your sergeant. We had a general who would like to sit in the back left seat of her car and have her husband drive her around. And she had tinted windows, and if you didn't see her back there, you know, you just saw her husband, you'd get in trouble. She liked to, like, I guess what you say, she was trying to deliberately trick people just to see who didn't know who her husband was. You know, and it got so bad.
You said her husband was like a high-ranking person?
No, he was a normal person. But
she was high-ranking.
Since she was in the back seat, you were supposed to go over there and salute her and whatnot. But she was trying to hide from you. She didn't want you to see her back there. So what ended up happening is they printed out papers with a picture of her husband and a picture of her car, and were like warning people, you know, this is what her car looks like. You know, make sure if you see this car, you make sure she's not in there. I mean, she was just being a jerk, you know, just for the fun of it.
I'm guessing
we had a big thing.
There's probably a lot of power tripping in the military, huh?
Yeah, she was a nut job. No, she was like kind of a boogeyman. You know, when you first got there, everybody warned you about her, how she was a nut job. She was, I guess we would say a Karen nowadays. You know, that term didn't exist back then, but she liked to throw her power, you know, try to get you in trouble.
Was she older?
Yeah, she was an old woman.
Like 60, 70?
Yeah, she was like 60s back then.
Okay. Is she even alive now?
Yeah, she's alive.
Interesting. Okay.
She got promoted since last I saw.
But what is the creepiest thing you've ever seen in in this position? Just not like horrifying, just like unsettling.
Oh, I got a good one. At the base I worked at, they did a lot of animal experimentation.
Like on monkeys?
And so semi-trucks would drive up full of monkeys, just like in the back, the same way you'd put cattle in the back of a truck, of a semi-truck. And they would drive those monkeys onto the base. I don't know where they took them, and I never saw those monkeys again. Those trucks always came back empty.
That's disgusting.
They would go through hundreds of monkeys.
Are you sure you gonna reveal that? That sounds like top secret, scary shit.
No, I'm sure it's fine. But I don't know what they were doing with those monkeys. And I'm not going to say where this was, but they used a lot of monkeys.
My guess would be injecting them with shit, like allergens probably.
I don't know. I've heard Elon Musk does like microchips in monkeys' brains. Like Neuralink, I think it's
they might even treat them really well. I mean, we don't know, but
yeah, I'm pretty confident they weren't treating them well. I don't think they would have been going through that many monkeys if they were treating them well.
Oh, that's a really disturbing thought, actually. Wow.
There's a lot of monkeys. That's all I'm saying.
What would you say to anyone, like a young man, like 16, 17, 18, who really wants to be this position? Or a young woman, either one.
In the military or security forces in particular?
What you were doing?
Yeah, I'd say get a better job. Apply. Don't apply for security forces. Apply for something that's going to get you more help when you get out. There are a lot of careers I could have picked. I did very well on the ASVAB, which is like their placement test. I mean, I chose security forces just because I thought it was interesting.
Wait, could you describe what that test is? Isn't that like math and like directions or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's math. It's electrician. I mean, I took it like a decade ago, so I don't remember everything. But like, there was a part about electrician, electrical work, your grammar skills, your math skills, stuff like that. Basically, like the SAT. And that determines what jobs you can pick, and even what branches you can pick. Certain branches have lower requirements for the ASVAB than others, as do certain jobs.
Interesting.
It's basically just the SAT, and I did very well on it. But I chose security forces, which is one of the lower tiered picks. It's the kind of thing somebody who's probably didn't do as well would have picked. And I just chose it because it sounded interesting. But in hindsight, I should have picked something that would have been better for my future.
Yeah,
could have gotten some education.
I've been in like similar security jobs, and they do jack shit for you, like when you're done with them.
Yeah.
And they also they throw you away in like 5 seconds. Like they don't care at all.
Yeah, that's true as well. So in hindsight, I'd probably recommend that somebody get a better job, get something to do with electricity or something to do with engineering or math or computer skills, especially if you're in the Air Force, because that's something they have a lot of anyway.
Is this position dangerous, would you say?
Not really. Not any more than any other job. I mean, as you mentioned, compared to like a regular security guard or an armored truck driver for Berkshire Hathaway, I don't think it's really any worse than any of those jobs.
Okay, cool.
But it is dangerous to some extent, especially, I should clarify, I never got deployed. Obviously, if you get deployed, I'm sure it's a lot more dangerous. I was never deployed, so I can't speak on that. But I'm sure if you were in a position where you could be deployed, that would greatly increase the amount of danger you were in.
I see. Well, I don't think I have anything else. Do you have any final thoughts or final things you would like to express?
I do have a pretty funny story I thought I'd share.
Okay.
More lighthearted than the previous one. I worked with a guy, we can call him Tom. And Tom he gets a DUI and he's not allowed to drive on the base anymore. So, they had a special parking lot for the people who got DUIs. And he would park there, and I would pick him up, and I would take him to work, because it was just like half a mile away. I was just being nice. And he drove his motorcycle, and he parked it in the parking lot. but he was so hungover he vomited in his motorcycle helmet. You know, one of those big visor ones.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah. And when I came over, he tried to put his helmet in my car, and I was like, no. I was like, leave it with your motorcycle. I was like, nobody's going to steal that helmet.
That's disgusting. And it was probably like all liquor vomit, so it all stunk even worse.
Yeah, it was gross. There was one of the things you would do is check IDs. You know, people would come by and you'd check their ID to make sure they were allowed to be where they were supposed to be. And I was at this gate that people didn't use very often, so there was just the two of us, me and, you know, we'll call him Smith. And Smith's been cheating on his girlfriend, who is also in the Air Force, with a third person who is also in the Air Force, another security forces person. So I think his girlfriend was a nurse. So me and Smith are sitting there at the front gate, and his girlfriend shows up, and she has just found out that he's cheating on her. So it's just me and him in the desert, you know, nothing around, and I can't just leave. And she pulls up and she starts yelling at him, and she's crying, and he's looking real sullen, you know, just sort of nodding. And she's so upset. And it was funny because I was just sitting there. You know, it's a it's a two-room shack. You got the main room and the little bathroom, and I'm just sitting there watching this guy get yelled at in like an extremely personal and private conversation, and I have no reason to be there, and I'm just sitting there. You know, it was hilarious because I can't just leave, so I'm just watching this guy get yelled at.
How old are they? Like 23 at this time? 24?
I don't know exactly. Yeah, they would have been in their 20s, you know, a little older than me.
Everyone knows that, you know, the 20s are the most stable time for relationships.
And then it gets even crazier. So sometime later, Smith's girlfriend pulls up to the front gate, and she confronts Smith's mistress. And Smith's mistress gets so mad, she yanks her out of her car and starts punching her.
That's just straight up assault on a military base, isn't it?
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know who started it exactly, but she got yanked out of the car, the girlfriend did, by the mistress, so they were fist fighting. Very, very silly.
Wow.
There was a guy, you know, Rodriguez, how about that? He was driving drunk, and he crashed his car into a light pole, and he fled on foot, just leaving his car in the middle of the street in the city we were in. And so he just left it, you know. And of course, you know, you have a license and a registration and whatnot, so they were able to track it down. And he ended up getting kicked out over it, but it was pretty funny.
Well, this has been a fantastic interview. I've really enjoyed it.
Okay. I do have one more if you'd like to hear it. It's pretty good too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we had a guy, Carlos, we'll call him. Carlos shows up to work one day, and he's drunk. Not hungover, like literally drunk. And one of the sergeants notices, he smells the alcohol on him. And it turns out what Carlos had done is he had spent all night and all morning at a bar getting plastered. And then he had one of his friends pick him up at the bar and drop him off in the military base. And his plan was to go to work, you know, work an 8-hour shift after having 0 hours of sleep, and he's drunk.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a nightmare. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, he was.
And
he was plastered.
You have to do a lot of physical labor all day, don't you? In that position?
We had exercise like every other day. But my job wasn't always physical. It was basically security guard work, you know, rent-a-cop kind of stuff. Nothing special.
Well,
yeah.
That was a very interesting. That was a very interesting interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more interviews. If you would like to get an interview of any type, you can look in the description and find my Discord, and you can reach out to me. The requirements: you have to be 18 or over, and you have to have some kind of interesting life experience. And yeah, that's all. See ya.